Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn. Welcome, everybody. We are here at Living Chassidus with another incredible farbrengen on the topic of writing to the Rebbe, going to the Ohel. And for years, many, many years, I've been asked, Michal, how do we do this? What's a duch? What's a pan? What's a michtav? What do we do when we get there? How does this whole thing work? How does the process, how do we connect? All of that. And we said, Baruch Hashem, here we are. And we are having a incredible class with Rabbi Yosef Katzman. Yosef Katzman is an acclaimed public lecturer. He was born and raised in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, at the court of the Rebbe. Rabbi Katzman initiated many Jewish outreach projects and founded a Cable to Jewish Life television show. His current passion are the teachings of Hayemim. So I will pass the mic on to him.
So the gist of the topic is, of course, what's our connection to the Rebbe, how to start communicating with the Rebbe, perhaps what's the purpose, what does it accomplish. So everything based on this topic under the circumstances. We're talking about the Ohel. So there is the general instruction we got from the Rebbe way back in the beginning. After Yitzhak, the Rebbe wrote to a chassid that everything continues as was. And you have to continue writing to the Rebbe, right? And send it to the Ohel, or go to the Ohel yourself. And you're asking about an answer. The Rebbe says, the Rebbe wird schon gefunden weg. The Rebbe will find a way. So there's a very interesting story that goes way back to those years, to the beginning, as known, right after Yitzhak, the Rebbe for a while refused accepting the mantle of leadership. And there were two sons-in-law. So it was like it wasn't certain what was happening. So I heard a story from Rabbi Weinberg, famous Rabbi Weinberg, who said he was a member of the Ohel of the yeshiva of Tomchet Mimim, and the head of Tomchet Mimim was the Rebbe's brother-in-law, the Rashak. And after one such meeting, the Rashak turned to the people present and he said, I want to share something with you. He started off by saying, you know that there's a little tension, so to speak, between me and my brother-in-law. In other words, I wasn't sure who's going to be Rebbe or something to that effect. And yet, the Rashak says, Rabbi Garari, he said, I am a great admirer of my brother-in-law because he's a very wise man. He's a brilliant administrator, and he knows how to run things. So when I need to consult with someone, he is the one I turn to. And I ask him for advice. So recently, he said, I asked him for advice about a certain matter. And he told me, why don't you ask our father-in-law? My eyes popped out. I looked at him. I said, what do you mean, ask our father-in-law. It was after Yitzhak. I need an answer, he says. I can say whatever I want, but I need a response. So my brother-in-law, the Rebbe, told me, okay, so I will ask. He came back after whatever it was, a few days, and he said, my father-in-law said such and such. And this is what you should do. So Rabbi Gerari turns to the people and he says, say about him whatever you want, whatever your opinion about him is. One thing I can guarantee you, I'm telling you with certainty, he is not a liar. If he says he heard from our father-in-law, he heard from our father-in-law. Basically acknowledging that the Rebbe was able to communicate with the Frierdiker Rebbe and get a response. And he kind of threw in the towel. He said, I cannot do that. So for the Rashag, it was an impossible task. But the Rebbe said, the Rebbe turned to him like, why not? You should be able to. Now we would think that it's only something that belongs to the Rebbe, but we see that the Rebbe didn't treat it that way. The Rebbe expected that the Rashag is also able to do that. And when the Rebbe wrote to a Chosid, he told him the same thing. You write. You need an answer. Leave it up to the Rebbe. He will find a way how to send you an answer. This is the state of affairs that we find ourselves. So basically, first we need to address the idea of writing to the Rebbe in general, for which I got my answer. Well, I was given enough time. I don't usually get so much advance notice before I give a lecture, only if it's some major trip, but locally, usually it's a last minute thing. And here I was asked weeks in advance, and I had enough time to drive myself crazy. What am I going to talk about? So the Rebbe sent me an answer. I wrote to the Rebbe, my last visit by the Ohel, that I was invited to speak here. And I'm asking for a bracha, that it should be successful. So guess what? We have living Torah every Motzei Shabbos. We hear a choice of sichas from the Rebbe. And this week, I got my answer, exactly what we need to talk about, what to base our discussion on. So if the technicians are around, I would like to share screen the first part, about 5-7 minutes, of this last week's Living Torah. Is it going to show on a screen?
Yeah. We're just gonna turn off the lights. So that way. Oh, here. Okay, can you guys see? Okay.
מהישיבה היינו נוסעים כל יום ראשון לפריז, ללמד ילדי יהודים תורה ויהדות וקצת יראת שמיים וזה. שנה אחת נסענו והבאנו 200 ילדים לישיבה נברנוע, באוטובוסים, בל"ג בעומר. אחרי זה, רבי ניסן עליו השלום נמנו, שהיה מנהל הישיבה, היה חסיד, רבי ניסן היה לו דרך שכל חודש היה כותב דוח לרבי מהישיבה, בסוף המכתב כתב שבל"ג בעומר היו בישיבה 200 ילדים שבאו מפריז כל יום וחול. הרבי כותב לו, צורת חין על הדוח מהישיבה, ובקשר לעניין שכותב שהיו 200 ילדים מפריז שבאו לישיבה, התפלא בעיני, מי כמוהו יודע שכל המכתבים שאני מקבל מכל היהודים מכל העולם, אני מקבל רק עניינים בלתי רצויים שיהודי חסר לו. אם יש דבר אחד שנותן לי קצת בריאות, קצת שמחה, או לשמוע דבר כזה, בשורה כזאת, הייתכן להתאפק ולשים את הידיעה הזאת על שולחן כתיבה 10 ימים, ואחר כך לשלוח לי את זה.
was zu gebeten, haben es auch von die Jungen von verspäten Jüdischkeit, die Herde bin Chemie, und dann noch es erschichet Kammer und Kammer, vom zugeschickt dann noch die Duchen, die berichten, was sie haben getan, was sie haben getan, was sie das in Iskabel geworden, kann als Mann, kann Hamburg, bestätigen, hat er alle Duchen seinen angeguckt. Sie der Mond, jeden der 4 Jahre, auf ein Ziel, und ich sehe der Hände von dem Schwer.
The Rebbe was having a big campaign about to do Mifsoim. And in New York, they started with the Mifsa tanks. I want also have here in Ohel a tank. Why? We have a big college, Haven College. We should have a tank movement. Is I make a campaign. I went to everybody's supposed to give $100. Sunday, we're going into Yale College. And we are stopping students and asking, it's a big sign, put on a mezuzah, put on tefillin. As I make a draft, everyone from Manash was to give with a line. 2 guys will come this week, other good guys, and they'll stay 2 or 3 hours every Sunday. The students have a newspaper, and they're putting on the front page with a picture from the mobile and the headlines. We are come to remind every Jew his identity. They should remember he's a Jew. That's it. They took the newspaper and I sent it to the Rabbi. Can you imagine the Rabbi and he write me after this write me my son.
Das ist ein Rischer mit einer Sinnestikter, mit einer Jascherkehr, mit Kohl all die Schenes, wo in Jönem es darf sein bei der Tag. Vergibes um jedem gewinnen Kehrer Fluch, all die Deha und der Mufte Besitzer, mit dem sich die Chulim und Broches und mit ihnen Skech, mit allen Jönem es darf sein bei der Tag. Amische Jeschli Monde Rätsel Masai, und gleich wissen die, Amische Jeschli Masai im Rätsel Dalek, wo der Fune sich verstandig beim Gehe, li Achri sehr.
I remember when I was a Talmud in Kfar Chabad in Yeshiva, we went out with Tzira Vidas Chabad a lot to military bases. It was extremely successful. They opened up the doors and we put on tefillin with a lot of soldiers, Fabrein with a lot of soldiers, and there was just a lot of interesting things that happened. I was so excited about it that I sat down and I wrote a 7-page letter to my father. When he read the letter, he decided to send it into the Rebbe. He wrote a note on the top, Ulai Yigreim Nachas Ruach Lekvei Kedushas Admor Shlita. Perhaps it'll cause some Nachas Ruach to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe sent it out and crossed out the word Ulai and Yigreim and wrote the word Goram. And after the word Nachas Ruach, the Rebbe wrote Rav.
אבל ניסן אומר, אם תשאל למה אני מראה לך את המכתב הזה, יבוא יום שאתה תהיה מנהיג ציבורי, שליח של הרבי, ויהיו לך עניינים להודיע לרבי, אל תעשי כמוני. תקף שיהיה לך משהו להודיע, תכתוב הרבי, תודיע.
Like a sag mal anfangen zettlich mit 3 Wörter. Hinnen die Wasser teuf. Op zich, ik ben kamer pommen, was ik gaat aan even verremmen, kan je Wasser teuf habo, bij Yosef, ik kan je Wasser teuf Yosef loving. We zijn gegeven van jeder ene van Anach. De Rebbe wil heint herren besoedes teufels van jeder schliach.
ארגנתי תלמוד תורה לילדים, סידרתי את זה על לוח כזה מנייר עבי, לבן, כל שם של כל ילד וילדה, משם האמא שלנו נזכרתי שם, כתבתי סדר הלימודים, שמות המורים, תוכנית הלימודים, והכל. כשנכנסתי ליחידות, מסרתי את זה לרבי. את השמחה שראיתי על הפנים הקדושות של הרבי, הרגשתי טעם גן עדן, פעם ראשונה בחיים שלי.
Is a sichere Sache, beschaß nehmen auf sich. Als Lisman muss nicht dir sein. Was tun getan in der Potze der Jahres war Marione. Is also demol ki dosem is Zare. Als soll tun noch never wie tut belav hochi.
This production is made possible through the generosity.
So here, what we heard here is very clear. The Rebbe is asking for, demanding for, and expecting that we should communicate with him. Let me know what's going on. And this was a very powerful message. Reb Nissen Nemenov would write to the Rebbe every month a report from the yeshiva. So he would write for Rosh Chodesh. Lag BaOmer is the 18th of the month, which is 12 days before Rosh Chodesh. When he wrote to the Rebbe, included in the next report what had happened on Lag BaOmer, 12 days earlier, the Rebbe responded, like by him it was like a given. I'm sending a letter anyway, Rosh Chodesh, so I'll include it. And the Rebbe complained and demanded, how come you allowed this to wait 12 days until you shared it with me? Why did this news wait? For this, we had a Hayom Yom, very interesting Hayom Yom last week. The Hayom Yom only talks about Schar Mitzvah Mitzvah. The reward of a mitzvah is mitzvah. That was on the 25th of the year. A saying that the Alter Rebbe said in the year Tov Kuf Nun Hey, which is 1795, and you don't know the context. When and what is the story?
He didn't coin it, did he?
Schar Mitzvah Mitzvah is a Mishnah. The reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. The Alter Rebbe elaborated, expounded on it, and he said, the reward of a mitzvah, there is the principle of the mitzvah, and there are the fruits of the mitzvah, the benefits, side benefits. So the fruits of the mitzvah, you get the world to come. But the benefits, the fruits, you enjoy even in this world. Each person, according to this particular mitzvah that he did, in a need of his that corresponds to that. What's the story there? It's a beautiful story. There was a city where Chassidim were suffering a lot, and many Chassidim were arrested by the government. It was a very tough time for Chassidim. And finally, They overcame it. So the Chassidim decided that they want to inform the Alter Rebbe about this, to send him a letter informing him that, thank God, the decree is over. There was a certain chassid, and this chassid, I think his name was Rabbi Blecher, and he was a simple Jew. He worked very hard and he didn't earn much. He was very poor. But he came running to the committee of Chassidim who were preparing this letter, and he brought money and he said, I want you to send this letter special delivery express to the Alter Rebbe, that it should reach the Alter Rebbe sooner, because I want him to get the good news fast. And the head of the Chassidim, the Mashpia, looked at him and he said, what are you talking about? You're a pauper. You can't afford this. I can't take this money from you for this express letter. You have family problems. Your wife is ill. Your children are ill. You barely make a living. I'm not taking this. Became a whole issue. And the elder Chassidim got together. They heard out both sides. And the final decision was that this chassid is right. We are accepting this money from him, and we are sending this letter, special delivery express, or in those days, a runner, with a special runner who will deliver this letter with the good news to the Alter Rebbe. To the surprise of all chassidim, a short while later, one of the Alter Rebbe's shluchim, a shadar, there was one of those people who would travel around on behalf of the Alter Rebbe, whether it was to raise money or to teach chassidus, came to that town, and he brought a special letter from the Alter Rebbe, handwritten, addressed to this Rabbi Blecher, maybe Rabbi Shimon Blecher, I'm sorry. And he gave him a handwritten letter, and he writes him and he thanks him for making the effort of sending him this letter express. And in this merit, because you gave me, you did this mitzvah of giving me good news, express, the Eibishter will reward you that you will be able to forever share only good news. And he gave him all the brachas. And sure enough, after that, things turned around. His parnosa improved. His family was cured from all the illnesses. And he lived a wonderful life. He was able to continue sending good news to the Alter Rebbe. So this is a clear indication how important writing and sharing good news is. And the Rabbeim in particular. Now, this is a general issue that the Rabbeim had to deal with throughout the generations. We do know, by the way, something which is very important. One of the things that a Rebbe stands out from other mashpim, unlike a mashpia, you can have a teacher who will teach you and guide you in your spirituality. A Rebbe is also able to guide you and lead you in material matters, in gashmias. This is what singles out a Rebbe over other mashpim. So the Rabbeim dealt with the gashmias of Chassidim, as in this case, the Chassid gave the Rebbe good news, and the Rebbe wished him. He said, this is the schar of your mitzvah, the reward of your mitzvah is, you gave me good news, you will always give good news. And this is the fruits of the mitzvah that he was enjoying. What was it? Gashmias. His gashmias needs. The Rebbe says, I want to hear your gashmias. I want to hear things are good. Tell me that things are good. So this is something that Rabbeim dealt with a lot over the generations. The Frierdiker Rebbe in particular, and by our Rebbe, we find something fascinating. The Rabbeim always complained. Chassidim, you only know me, as you heard it here on the video also. The Rebbe says, I hear from people usually when things are not so well. You write to me when you need broches, when there are problems. But when things are good, you don't. You don't have a habit of sharing with me. So the Rebbe expects, and he expects from us, and he wants us to share with him good news. So there's a lot to talk about this. Obviously, one of the big questions is, okay, before Gimel Tammuz, after Gimel Tammuz, how exactly does this work? So I don't really want to go into explaining this whole thing about after Gimel Tammuz. I mean, just briefly, there are a lot of people, one of the criticisms they have of Chassidim is that you go to an Ohel. What kind of business is this? They call it praying to the dead, which is the most ridiculous argument. First of all, nobody, God forbid, prays to the dead. The point we find already in Chumash, we find in the Torah. What do we find? That when the Meraglim, when the scouts, when the spies went to scout out Eretz Yisrael, so 10 of them led the Jews astray, and 2 of them did not. One was Yeshua, who was the student of, who was the servant of Moshe Rabbeinu. We had a special bracha, and Kolev ben Yefuna. What happened to Kolev ben Yefuna? When you learn in the Chumash, you're going to learn in a few weeks. Vayovay ad Chevron, when Kolev came to Eretz Yisrael, to Eretz Canaan, to scout out the land, his first trip was he went to Hebron. What did he go to Hebron? So Rashi says, he went to pray at the Meoras HaMachpelah, at the cave of our patriarchs, to ask them they should help him and advocate for him that he should not fall into the trap of joining the other Meraglim, the other scouts. So we already have, in the Torah it says, that one of the things a person does, he seeks the help of the holy righteous, even when they are in the world to come. They're there for you. And this is a tradition throughout the generations. In Shulchan Aruch, we find the halacha that before the new year, says in halacha in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, that you go to the cemetery to pray, to ask your loved ones, the righteous, they should advocate on your behalf. So this is a general concept. But this is not where I'm going. I'm going to the general concept, as the Rebbe said, that there really is no distinction before Gimel Tammuz and after Gimel Tammuz. It's all the same. In our case, it is very clear that the Rebbe continues to lead, as before. Not only as before, but a lot stronger. The only difference from before Gimel Tammuz to after Gimel Tammuz, before Gimel Tammuz, if you wanted to meet the Rebbe, you had to go to a very specific location, whether it was Yechidus, whether it was by dollars, whether it was by Fabringen. Now, the limitations are off. You can meet the Rebbe wherever you want, and you can communicate with him. The only issue is, we want a response. So, we have to be in communication with the Rebbe. So I want to share with you a few stories that I will call it personal, happened to me personally, pre-Gimel Tammuz and post-Gimel Tammuz. that illustrates this point and shows you how strong and how important it is for us to be in touch with the Rebbe. As the Rebbe also spoke here, that when you resolve that you are going to write, let's say once a month or whatever, periodically, but set times, it obligates you because you know you have to write to someone. For yourself, you can find all kinds of excuses. For someone else, you can't find excuses. So if you want to report, you have to have what to report. That in itself is an impetus to do things right. I know I'm a student. I know by the end of the week, by the end of the month, I have to report. What did I learn? I am a Lubavitcher. How much miftzayim did I do? What did I do? And if you don't have what to write, it's embarrassing. So the first thing is, even if you have nothing to write, if you need to just write, sorry, Rebbe, I have nothing to write, but next time it'll be better. It helps a person to live up, to do what they need to do. It's a good thing. And this is one of the reasons that Rebbe always asked for, and it was mentioned in this video. The Rebbe says reports, duchos. I want to hear reports, because when there's reports, you got to make sure there is what to report on. It's very helpful.
Rabbi Kalarski, he said, I guess like if a person also wants to report on something, because you're saying a person should obviously be reporting on the things that they did that were like in the realm of what Rabbi asks of us. But if a person also wants to ask for brachos and say that this is not right, is that also able to be in that same letter? Or it's almost like a lie if you start by saying.
No. First of all, Rabbi Katlarski happens to be yesterday was his yahrzeit. That was his theme in life. His theme in life was to report good news to the Rebbe, so he would open all his letters. I am here to report good news. When you talk about reporting good news, it does not mean, I mentioned it earlier, it doesn't only mean your spirituality. It means also you're having parnasa. Your family life is fine. That's also important. The Rabbeim complained that Chassidim only remember to write when there are problems. That there are problems, everybody writes. Nobody needs to be instructed. That's like a given. It's a no-brainer. Who are you going to ask for a bracha? Of course, the Rebbe. So you ask for a bracha and you get brachas for sure. But how much nicer would this letter be if I need to ask for a bracha? Well, before I'm sharing my problems, let me share with you the good news. And the Rebbe reads the good news. And then you finish and you would like a bracha. How do you think that would work? You know where you get your model? Every day in Shemoneh Esrei. How do we start Shemoneh Esrei? First bracha. Okay, you praise the Eibishter, and I'm so excited, and I'm so happy, and you're so wonderful, and you're so giving, and you're so kind, and you're so, and then you talk about Tato Giver, that you're so, and you bring life, and then you're so holy, and you give us wisdom, and then all of a sudden you start, Refoinu, give me healing. Give me this kind of blessing, give me sustenance. Before you start complaining, be sweet, be nice, be complimentary. So obviously, no contradiction. The problem is only if that's the only thing you do. It's a very important point. Very good. So I want to share with you, this is a story that happened with me. It was 1985. Tovshin Mem Vov, Tishrei, Simchas Torah. And if you were here, Simchas Torah, you probably saw the layout of the shul, that they have, the Rebbe's place is in the corner, is regular place, just elevated higher than usual. And that's where the Rebbe would spend on Simchas Torah during Hakofos. Most of the Hakofos, the Rebbe would be in his corner and lead the Hakofos from there. That means the Atohoreso and 5 of the 7 Hakofos. The Rebbe would be in that corner. Then there was the center. They would make a place where the Rebbe would dance. The 2 Hakofos that he was given, which is the 1st and the 7th Hakofa, he would take a Sefer Torah and he would go to the center and dance there. So it's a challenge for everyone. You can't be both places at the same time. How do you work it out? So one way was you get up high on the bleachers and you have a bird's eye view. But not everybody wants to see things from far. You want to see things from close. So I found my place in the center, what they call today the washing machine. And this way, when the Rebbe was in the front, I would push myself to the front. When the Rebbe went to the center, I would push myself to the center. But the Rebbe had to get from one corner to the other, right? With the washing machine, how do you create a path? So they had 2 steel tables that created a path. And the Rebbe would go through that path. And my place was adjacent to that table, and this way, alongside the table, I would push forward or backward. Now, here's something interesting. How far is the distance from the front corner to the center of the shul? 45-second walk, 60-second walk. It would take the Rebbe about 15 minutes. Why? Because when the Rebbe would take the Sefer Torah, he would carry the Sefer Torah and walk to the dancing and back. As customary by Jews, the person who was honored with a Hakofa, people reach out to kiss the Sefer Torah as he's holding it. And there is a custom by Jews that you wish him, there's the expression, you should live to next year. That's a custom. It's a Jewish traditional custom. You bless each other. And people would push to kiss the Sefer Torah as the Rebbe was holding it. And the Rebbe would go, his face was beaming, a smile from ear to ear. He would hold the small Sefer Torah, and he would reach out to people. When he saw, he would reach out, here, kiss, kiss, kiss. And some people, not everyone, I probably never did it. Young people for sure didn't do it. But some chassidim would wish the Rebbe, live to next year. And the Rebbe would respond with a shining, beaming face. He would say, Amen gam ata. Amen, same to you. And it was priceless. It was absolutely priceless to watch that. After a while, people figured, wait a minute. Observe the Rebbe. This looks like an Eis Rotzen. This is a special moment. We are pushing to wish the Rebbe the Levi Brayah. Hey, if it's an Eis Rotzen, we can ask for something too. How's that? I hate to use a vulgar expression, but let's press the buttons on the ATM machine. While it's dispensing, the Rebbe is in such a beautiful mood. That's it. Let's cash in. And people started pushing to ask for brachas. And that moment turned into the most incredible moment. The Rebbe started showering people with brachas, miracles. It was crazy. It was a miracle 15 minutes. The Rebbe going from one end to the other. Slowly, the Rebbe was tiptoeing and responding and smiling and answering and giving brachas. It was incredible. So special. Me, as the expert bouncer, I became a bouncer. In other words, if somebody pushed to get to the Rebbe, and before he knows that he can go flying who knows where, I knew how to help them stay put. So at least until the Rebbe answers and notices them, they can fulfill their desire of asking for a bracha. And I did it for many years. I would do that, help people, push and pull one away, push the other one in. That was that's a mission I took upon myself. Why shouldn't people get the brachas they need? So I helped them. It was that year, Tovshin Memvov, 1985. And this happened at night by Yaakov the first time, Shmini Atzeres, and then the second night, Simchas Torah, and then Simchas Torah Day. And this was a routine. It became a routine. That year, after the Rebbe finished all the Akofas, and he left. He left the shul. He went upstairs. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking to myself, you fool. You were helping everyone push for a bracha. Why didn't you ask for a bracha yourself? What was at issue? My mother-in-law, a young woman, was gravely ill. And I should have asked for a bracha. I had nothing against her. She lived 3,000 miles away. We had a very safe distance. We had no issues. It's not like there was no mother-in-law relationship here that should hold me back. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm kicking myself, why didn't you do this? It's not nice. You should have. I felt very guilty. Quick thinking, I said, no, I'm not going to let this go. It's still Simchas Torah, even though Hakofes is over. I am going to get a bracha from the Rebbe during Simchas Torah. I run upstairs to check where the Rebbe is up to. And I confirm that the Rebbe is next door in the library where the Rebbetzin was. And he went for the Yom Tov meal, which means shortly he's going to be returning back to 770 to his room. So I figured I'm going to stop the Rebbe on the way. But I'm thinking to myself, I was a young man. That's some chutzpah to stop the Rebbe and ask him for a bracha in the middle. And, it's like inappropriate. Some more quick thinking. I look around and I see that in the shul, in the zal, as they call it, the zal upstairs, Rabbi Pinya Korf, if you heard of him or you knew him, big chassid, major chassid, and he's standing with his Sefer Torah, he's dancing Hakofes. I ran over to him and I was thinking, this is all my quick thinking, my plotting and my sinister plans. I said, there was a certain individual in this neighborhood. His name was Reb Zusha Feldman. His name is Reb Zusha Feldman. He happened to be a teacher of mine in my childhood. And he was very ill then. And Rapinya was also a teacher of mine. So I'm telling Rapinya, maybe, what do you think about asking the Rebbe for a bracha for this Reb Zusha? To my luck, Rapinya loved the idea. He said, yes, I think it's a good thing. I told him, you know what? The Rebbe is going to be coming back to his room soon. So we can stand next to the Rebbe's door. And as the Rebbe comes, we'll stay there and you'll ask for a bracha. I didn't reveal to him that I have my own ideas in mind. Anyway, we both went over to the Rebbe's room. We're standing by the door. We're waiting. Then the Rebbe's coming. As the Rebbe goes by, Reb Pinya turns to the Rebbe and mentions the name of this Zusha Feldman. And the Rebbe answers, Amen. Immediately, I say the name of my mother-in-law. And the Rebbe answers, Arichus Yomim Vishonim Tevis. Good long life. I'm like thinking to myself, wow, what a home run. It really worked. I got the right bracha. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, he just got an amen. I got Arichus Yomim Vishonim Tevis. This is crazy. And I'm so excited. I ran home and I told my wife, and we were so happy, and we're looking forward to miracles over miracles, and this is going to be great. The next day, my wife talks to her father, and who tells her, you should know that your mother, for the first time in a while, left the house. She walked out of the house for the first time after a while. I hear this news, and I'm thinking to myself, you see, the bracha is working. I figured you had the chutzpah to stop the Rebbe on Simchas Torah. At least let him know that the bracha is working. I sat down. I wrote a little note to the Rebbe. Since I stopped the Rebbe for bracha, I want to share with the Rebbe that, thank God, we got news from London. My father-in-law said that my mother-in-law is feeling better. She went out of the house. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't expect anything. To my surprise, I get a call from the Rebbe's office. You have an answer. I said, an answer for what? You sent in a note. Yeah, the Rebbe answered. What did the Rebbe answer? Kein Yevaser Toiv Tomit Kol Hayomim B'Teiv Hanir V'Nagil, like Rabbi Kotlarski mentioned. Kein Yevaser Toiv. It says, the same way you should continue giving good news in revealed good. And I'm like, wow, this is getting better. This is like a grand slam with bases loaded. I mean, this is, wow. Or I don't know, other terminology. What is it, a 50-yard line or whatever? This is a knockout. Everything is going to be so fantastic. Anyway, a few weeks went by. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law passed away. Now, here I am, this young schnook. I was so overexcited, and I'm bursting with hope and with looking forward for miracles. And things didn't exactly turn out that way. I'm confused. I'm a young man, I'm confused. I had so much faith, I had so much trust, I had so much confidence. So to be a little cynical, I said, the first bracha that the Rebbe said, which was Arichas Yomim V'Shonim Tevis, should have long life. I said, my dear mother-in-law, should rest in peace. In your merit, the Rebbe gave me a bracha. The Rebbe didn't say your mother-in-law should live long. The Rebbe just said, should have long, good life. I said, mother-in-law, because of you, the Rebbe wished me I should have good, long life. Oh, thank you. But the other part bothered me. And I couldn't make peace with this. The Rebbe says, just like you sent me good news now, you should continue giving me good news. What kind of good news did I already give you? The good news that I gave you was what? She went out of her house once? I mean, is that so exciting? Is this the kind of news you want to keep hearing from me? I mean, this is like, and it bothered me. And I'm trying to get an understanding of what's going on. I started talking to Mashpiyim. What could my Mashpiyim tell me? We don't always know everything. But I wasn't comfortable with that. I said, no, I got to do some research. In those years, we didn't have yet the vast amount of Sforim that we have today. For example, there wasn't even one volume of Igros, of the Rebbe's letters, wasn't yet published, not even one. Today you got almost 40. Even Likutei Sichos is a lot less than we have today. And all the publications of the Rebbe's teachings were not yet available. The wealth that we have today, we didn't have any of that then. So I decided I am the only place that I thought I may find something. If you look, you open up a volume of Likutei Sichos, you will always find in the back, there are the Hisofas, the additions, supplements. And those are collections of what was available that they were able to put their hands on, snippets of letters from the Rebbe. There was very little available, but whatever they could, they would solicit and collect, and they would try to find parts of letters of the Rebbe, and they would publish it, they would try to divide it according to the Parsha, to find the connection to the Parsha, and they would publish it. So I started from volume 1, and I went through volume after volume after volume. I read every single letter that I can read till I came volume 24, Chelik Chov Daled. Here, if you want, you can have a copy. I came Chelik Chov Daled, page 420, where it just hit me. I'm just gonna, you can read it on your own later. I'm not gonna teach it from inside, but I will give you the gist. These are two portions of two separate letters that the Rebbe wrote to two separate people, two different periods. But basically, the Rebbe writes, I haven't heard from you in a while, but suddenly I hear from you. And I'm sure that you are aware of the complaint that my father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, had, talking about Tsa'ar Chsidim, Chsidim of pain. They only remember the Rebbe when they have pain. And I'm shocked that you are including yourself into this type of Chsidim. The Eibishter wants you to be in touch. But since you will only write when you have problems, he has no choice but to send you problems. He needs to give you a reason why to write. How much better would it be if you would get into the habit of writing good news? So the hidden goodness, called chsadim amechusim, as we know, that like we had last week, we had in the klolos, the curses, which we are told, the Alter Rebbe teaches us that they are hidden blessings. So instead of having hidden blessings, you would have revealed blessings. And you wouldn't have to write about problems because you are already in touch by sharing good news. And I am sure that you will change your habit, and not only you will change, but you will influence others. This is the gist of the two letters. And this way, the Rebbe says here, this is, and it's very uncharacteristic for the Rebbe. The Rebbe never used these kind of things. Because you don't write, that's why you have problems. I mean, that's not exactly the style of the Rebbe, but here the Rebbe wanted to drive a point across. You want to have revealed good? Write to me when it's good. When I read this, I decided this is my answer. This is my explanation. Why? The Rebbe appreciated that I took the 5 minutes to share with him what I thought was good news. And it was good news, for the moment at least. The Rebbe said, you spent a minute to share with me good news? Good. Keep it up. Always make a point of writing good news to me. That's what I want. And I was like so proud of myself that I'm thinking this way. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to write the Rebbe another letter. And I write to the Rebbe. I've had this dilemma that was very much on my mind, and it was bothering me. And I decided to do some research. And this is my conclusion. I feel that this answers my question and my problem, and I resolved my dilemma. So I write to the Rebbe. If this conclusion is correct, at the time I was involved with leading Fabrengens in 770. I was, as they say, I had a microphone. So I'm writing to them, I will utilize that microphone to make a campaign amongst Chassidim to share with the Rebbe good news. I get a response. The Rebbe writes, I received your letter. Shoschein, I thank you, I appreciate it. And there should be a continuation. Something to that effect. There should be a continuation. To me, that validated, the Rebbe validated my point. I started a campaign. How much I influenced others, I don't know. But I definitely influenced myself. I got into the habit of sharing news with the Rebbe. I started writing to the Rebbe on a regular basis. I didn't wait for problems. I didn't wait for issues. I wrote to the Rebbe. There was parnasa. Children in the family are healthy. They're healthy. You have nachas from the children. You have shalom bayis. Whatever it is, share with the Rebbe. Here's a status update. Obviously, this also included the mivtzoim that I do, my organizational work that I do, my projects that I do. I was also part of it. But basically, it was a status update. And the Rebbe didn't always respond. I didn't expect an answer. I just informed. But every now and then, I would get a response from the Rebbe, which was like, thanks for updating me. It was like, keep it up. I once got an answer from the Rebbe. It was actually for my birthday. So in addition to writing to the Rebbe on a regular basis, I wrote a update, an annual report. And I got an answer on the day of my birthday. It was just mind-blowing. The Rebbe writes to me, I'm an individual. I didn't write as a head of an institution. I mean, I worked in Tzach and Tzivus Hashem. I was doing work, but I wrote as a private individual. And the Rebbe writes to me, the expression, I think they had it also here in the video, that the Rebbe gave a blessing that it's a Gemara that says, Misha Yeshloi Mona Reitza Mosai, Misha Leshem Mosai Reitza Dollar Meis. One who has 100 once, double 200, and one who has 200 once, double, which is 400. So the Rebbe writes to me, you should be blessed that it should be fulfilled by you. One who has 200 wants 400. 400, etc. In other words, the Rebbe jumped. He didn't even mention one who has 100. But he went straight to the 200. To me, this was like the Rebbe just telling me, I get your letters, I know where you're up to. And to me, by me, you have passed to the 200 stage. That's like one example. And I remember when I got this letter, I had some chassidim by me. We had a fabrengen, and they were blown away. They couldn't they were like, wow, private individual gets such an answer. It was like, but to me, it was only a validation. Yes, you're keeping in touch with me. Keep it up. And this is how I behaved. So I had this on a regular basis. I would write to the Rebbe, and I would get responses occasionally, very occasionally. But I got those responses. After Gimel Tammuz, in a way, I actually intensified my writing, because before Gimel Tammuz, I probably would write once a month. After Gimel Tammuz, I got into a habit of going to the Ohel every week. I go to the Ohel pretty much every Sunday. You go to the Ohel, you're right. So I just give the Rebbe weekly updates. And not necessarily expecting much of an answer or not asking for an answer, but every now and then I can get responses in every which way you may imagine. And even those you cannot imagine. I don't know how much time you want to listen, but I'm going to tell you just 2 stories. It will blow your mind. I mean, these answers can come in a dream. They can come. You walk out from the Ohel, you walk into the video room, and it's right there for you. The Rebbe is speaking to someone exactly addressing your need. Or you open up a Nigras Kodesh, you read the Rebbe's letters. That because you're asking, I wasn't going to address it, but because you're asking. My opinion, and a strong opinion, is the Rebbe said, the Rebbe wird gefinnen a Weg. The Rebbe will find a way. The Rebbe doesn't need our assistance how to answer us. When a person goes and he searches, then you're kind of, oh, Rebbe, I want to get this answer this way. I want you to answer me this way. Trust him. If he wants to answer you, he'll answer you. He doesn't need our assistance. So I personally do not subscribe to those who they search and, oh, okay, now let's open the Niggas Kodesh and find out. It could work. I'm not saying it can't. I'm not saying it doesn't. I mean, there are thousands of stories, so you can't deny a fact. But do you have to? No, don't worry about it. If the Rebbe wants, you're going to walk by a bookcase, and a book is going to fall on your head, and you're going to pick it up, and by mistake, it'll open, and you'll see it. And one such story happened to me. Not that it fell from the table, but... So my first knockout story was 1999. Tafshin Nun Tes. It was about this time of the year. Lag B'omer that year was Tuesday. I went to the Ohel on Sunday, as I usually do. Happened to be that time, I did have a complaint. I did need a bracha. It wasn't just a report. So even I wrote to the Rebbe asking for a bracha. What was the situation? There were 2 things on my mind. One thing, I had a 2-year-old child who already started speaking. and actually pretty well, but suddenly started stuttering, and badly. Of course, concerned. I'm asking for a bracha. Another thing, I have a property in Crown Heights, not where I live. And I bought this a while before. And at that period, I was having financial difficulties. So amongst the things that I wrote, I also asked, I need a blessing for two things. For my child stuttering and for the financial situation of my property. That was Sunday. On Monday, I was sitting in 770 between Mincha and Ma'ariv. I'm waiting for the minyan for Ma'ariv. Right next to me on the table is a Igris Kodesh from the Rebbe. Okay, so I sit down. I mean, I read Igris Kodesh regularly. So there's one right next to me. I sat down. I opened it. In response to your letter that you wrote about your little child that started stuttering, the Rebbe writes, certainly you're consulting with doctors. However, I don't think it's a medical issue. This is something that comes as a result of sudden fright. You have to research, find out what caused the fright, calm her down, and hopefully I'll hear good news from you. I'm like, wait a minute. Here comes the cynic. I went to the index. In volume 20, there's an index for all 20 volumes published until then. And I'm looking how many entries are there on the topic of stuttering. I found 4 in 20 volumes. So I went to all of them. I looked up each and every one of them. And 3 of them were like of no significant content. But this one is exactly what I wrote. I wrote about my young daughter who is stuttering. Okay. Of course, I went home. I showed it to my wife and, keep our fingers crossed. What's going to happen? That's Monday. Tuesday is the day of Lag BaOmer. I got a phone call from a Lubavitcher who lives in Kensington. He asks me, your name is Yosef Katzman? I said, yes. Did you ever get $100 bill from the Rebbe? I said, yes. And I told him the date. He says, I have it. You can come and pick it up. Oh, wow. What's the story with a $100 bill you got from the Rebbe, and how do you lose a $100 bill? I mean, what's going on? So here's the story. The Kinus HaShluchim, I believe it was 1985. I was working in Tzivas Hashem, which is one of the local organizations, New York organization. The whole shlichus operation, the whole structure of shlichus was not yet developed. It wasn't clear yet. Today, there's already an established system and everything. In those years, it was not yet developed and established. So nobody knew exactly who was considered the shliach and what's considered the shliach. They made a kinus hashluchim. It was not yet the international kinus. It was only a regional. And they invited the head shluchim, like the head of cities, of states, like a total of maybe 60, 70 shluchim that came. But not all shluchim, like not every employee of every shliach was invited, like today. And also, the New York shluchim, or the New York employees of Moisdes, of Tzach, or Machon Chana, Machon Liyadus, they were not classified as shluchim then. You stayed in Crown Heights. You're not yet, it wasn't yet established what the deal is with these people. So we were not invited to the skinners, besides for the fact we were not the heads. However, because we were local, we were allowed to come as observers. We were not participants, but we were observers. So we came to some sessions. And I remember Rabbi Krinsky came back a Sunday evening. He came back, he took the Rebbe home, and he comes running, so excited. What happened on the way to home? The Rebbe spoke to him, and he tells him, I am so happy and so proud of the shluchim. I see them by the kinos. I want to compensate them. I want to give them something. So he asked Rabbi Krinsky, how much was registration fee for the skinos? He said $100. So the Rebbe says, okay, I will give every shliach $100. Then the Rebbe continues, since they bought tickets, many of them came from out of town, they left their homes, I'm going to give them another $100. So each shliach is now going to get $200. Then the Rebbe continues, since the shluchim are going to get the $200, and they're going to want to hold on to it, and they're not going to want to spend it, and I want them to spend it, therefore I will give one more dollar. The $1 they can keep, the 200 they should spend. All right? It was very clear from this whole conversation that we, as observers, don't get. We didn't pay registration fee. We didn't pay tickets. I mean, the whole thing doesn't apply to us. Okay? I mean, you maybe feel bad, but that's it. You don't meet the criteria. We left. Rabbi Krinsky came the next day on Monday, and he gave out the money, and we didn't get it. A few days later, we get a telephone call from Rabbi Krinsky. Guys, come over. The Rebbe told me to give you all as well. That was a double shocker. First of all, that the Rebbe gave it, but the main thing was the Rebbe acknowledged us as shluchim. This was not a settled matter until then. This is the first time that the Rebbe acknowledges us as shluchim. Yeah, you can imagine the joy, the excitement, and I got $201, and I know that Rebbe insisted that the $200 should be spent. And I wasn't going to play no games. I got to find something worthwhile to spend it on. I didn't pay for a ticket. I didn't pay registration, so I can't apply it there. So I have to think. At that time, I bought a house. I bought a property in Crown Heights. So I figured that it was like at the edge. Eastward, it was the first Jewish house in the neighborhood. And not on a best block. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? You need bracha for that. You need a special bracha. I'm going to take this $100 and I will use it as part of my payment of the mortgage to invest as a blessing into the house. I treated the bills, I wrote my name on it as if I'm keeping it. I went to the bank. Instead of sending it by mail, I went to the actual bank. I put on a gartel with the whole seriousness, and I am paying my mortgage, and I'm applying one of these $100 bills, or maybe both of them, I don't remember, as a blessing, an investment of a blessing into the house. 13 years later, I write to the Rebbe, I need a bracha for the finances of this house. 2 days later, somebody calls me up. Here's your $100. Here's your blessing. Wow. 13 years, $100 bill circulated. As a rule, bills, the lifespan of a bill is 6 years, I think. And this one circulated for 13 years, and it stayed in Brooklyn. And I got it back. So on Monday, the Rebbe answers me through a Nigris Kodesh. At least he acknowledges my letter that my daughter needs a blessing for stuttering. And here he acknowledges, here's your blessing for the finances of the house. So now let's tie the ends. And the blessing that I got, the letter about my daughter. A few days later, my wife is sitting at home and the baby is on her lap and she starts crying. She says, I'm scared. My wife asks her, what are you scared of? She says, I'm scared of a cat. It clicked. My wife remembered that a week and a half earlier, she was in Raskin's fruit store. The kid was in a stroller. They have a cat for the mice. And out of nowhere, that cat jumped out on top of my daughter. My wife connects the two. The Rebbe says sudden fright. That's absolute sudden fright. Okay, she has a work cut out for her, so she had to calm her down, nothing to be afraid of. A kitten is nice and blah, blah, whatever it is. Took her a while, she calmed her down, and in no time, maybe a matter of hours, maybe a day, she calmed down and the stuttering disappeared as it came. And with the house, since 1999 is how many years? 26 years. I can sit for 26 years and tell you stories of miracles with that house, financially and otherwise. So this is one answer I got. One time. Then I'll give you one more. How fantastic the Rebbe's answers are, which is just, you can't make it up. If you have time. I don't know how long you want to sit. I mean, they advertise that I'm going to tell miracle stories, so. This happened, I don't know, 2008 maybe? Whatever, in the second half of the O years. Somebody convinced me, also connected to that house. I had equity, convinced me to take a loan. We're going to make an investment. It's going to make me rich. I never wanted to be in the investment business. Whatever, we worked it out in such a way that we're going to do a deal. Okay. So I made the investment. From the get-go, it looked brilliant. It was a great investment. Everything worked fine for about a year and a half, maybe 2. But then, being that we didn't have good experience, we made a fatal mistake. And it took another 6 months and the whole investment went south. We lost everything. And suddenly I find myself 7 banks after me with a debt of over $1 million. I don't even know how many zeros are in a million. It doesn't matter because I never had any. I'm stuck with one big zero. I lost everything. and the banks are after me. I have no money for a lawyer. I have no excuses. I have no defense. I mean, the whole thing was like so out of whack. I don't know what to do. What do? You go to the Rebbe. I walk to the Ohel, and I'm sharing with the Rebbe my whole peckle. I'm trying to unload. I walk out. I walk into the room of the video, and what do I see? Somebody is standing by the Rebbe. He's complaining about his business. He's not doing well. And the Rebbe says there's a book called Chayvus Halvavus, Duties of the Heart. In it, there is a section called Shara B'tochen, Gates of Faith. Learn it. He turns to the Rebbe, and if I'm going to learn Shara B'tochen, business will be good. The Rebbe says, yeah. So, okay. By me, went in one ear, went out the other. I made no connection whatsoever. I go every week, so I went next week. Nothing changed. Same story. I walk out, the same video.
Wow.
This happened 5 weeks in a row. I walk out from the Ohel. No, it's like it circulates like every, I don't know, every hour, whatever it is. Suddenly, the 5th time, I said, hello, maybe he's talking to you. And I just went into the car, went straight to Judaica world. I did not have a Shara B'tochen. It's a Musar Sefer. What is that? The guy have with Musar? So I didn't have it in my house. I went and I bought it. I started learning Shara B'tochen. I'm sure that you will learn it. It became very popular in Chabad lately. They even published the Chabad version of it. And the Shara B'tochen, it just clicked. Shara B'tochen, it's an intellectual, cold, calculated. It's Musar. It's not passionate chassidus. It's cold, calculated logic explaining to you why you have to have faith. And it's impossible otherwise. And it makes sense. To me, the big intellectual that I am, it spoke to me. The guy makes sense. I'm subscribing. And I made a decision. I said, why am I losing sleep? Because I owe the bank $1 million. The bank lost $1 million. Let the bank manager lose sleep. I'm okay. They can't come after me. I don't have much else. It's nothing to lose, except for sleep. So I'm not going to lose any more sleep. I'll trust in the Eibusher, everything will be fine. All right, great. Started feeling better. My nerves calmed down. Even my wife said, you became a new person. What happened to you? So things happen. Anyway, this went on for a while. The banks came after me, court case after court case, and I, of course, did not show up. You don't show up in court. What happens? You lose by default. You lose by default, so I got 7 judgments against me. And the first bank came right after me. There wasn't much for them to take besides for garnishing wages. So they can take 10% of the wages. I'm living in peace. Okay, from now on, 10% of my wages will be taken by one of the banks. The second bank will have to wait in line in about 100 years when the first bank is going to collect everything they got. So I'm comfortable. I'm calm. And this goes on for a few years. In the meantime, one of my children has to get married. So what do? Again, like all, as they say, kiminig hanegidim ham for summon, like all the important people, you go to every gmach, every free loan society you can find. And you have all kinds of gmachim made for weddings, and they help you. And it's a total. I collected whatever money I needed, and I have to pay it out in 20 months, and fine, everything is good. Less than a year later, 2 more of my kids have to get married. They were like together, one after the other. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. Oh no. I can't go back to the Gmach because it's not 20 months yet. Nobody's going to give me another loan. What do? You get all flustered, I said, wait a minute. Why did you learn Shara B'tochen? When everything is smooth? That's exactly why you learn Shara B'tochen. You have to trust the Eibishter when you're under pressure, so calm down. Okay. In the meantime, a relative of mine, this is happening within 2 months. A relative of mine shares with me that one of his children got engaged to a girl from Australia, and the wedding had to take place in Australia. And he calculated that pay tickets for the family, for everyone to go, it's going to cost him like $75,000. Fortune of money. So we thought of an idea. Maybe he will invite the mechut and let's make the wedding in New York. A wedding in New York cost a quarter of what it costs in Australia. There were actually, at that period, there were many Australian families who came to make their weddings here, even when both sides were from Australia, because it was so much cheaper. I mean, a wedding there was like over $100,000. You were able, at that time, you were able to make a wedding here for $25,000, $30,000. So he says, I'll make the wedding here. All you'll have to do is pay for tickets. I'll be happy. You'll be happy. And so this is a suggestion that he was going to suggest to his mechoten. But he won't make a move without asking the Rebbe. So he asks the Rebbe. He writes to the Rebbe if he should make this offer to the mechoten. He opens up a Nigris Kodesh. What does the Rebbe write in the letter? I was very happy to hear that you're traveling to your son's wedding. I know you had some financial calculations. You should know that when you have to marry off a child, new channels open up. And since, according to Torah, you are obligated to marry off your child, the Eibishter is obligated to provide you with the funds for that wedding. And if it occurred to you that you will get this money and then you'll be able to use it for something else, you should know the money won't be there for anything else. It will only be there for the purposes of this wedding. And I'm listening to this and it says, why is he telling me this story now? This is a story that happened quite a few years earlier, and all of a sudden he's sharing the story with me. And I said, yeah, think about it. The Rebbe is saying that the Eibusher is obligated to provide you with your funds for the wedding. You're having 2 weddings to make. All right. It's God's responsibility, and he'll provide. So I consciously made a decision from now on. I am not worrying about money for the weddings, to the degree that when I go to the Ohel and I write to the Rebbe and I ask for blessings for the weddings, there will be no mention of funds. It's off the chart. It's not my worry. So why even talk about it? Why even ask for blessing? It's off the chart. In the meantime, I was sitting by a simcha. I met someone and he starts asking, well, how's my situation, my financials? And I told him, listen, It's all messed up, but it's fine. He hears my story. He says, I know somebody in Borough Park. There's a Satmar guy in Borough Park. He handles cases like yours. He knows how to beat the system. Go to him. He'll take care of you. I said, how much does he charge? He says, nothing. The only thing is his office hours are from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. He doesn't want sunlight, doesn't want daylight on his operation. So, you want to come? 10 o'clock, we'll get there, you'll wait in line. Sees 20, 30 people at night. We'll see you. All right, that doesn't cost. So I'll lose a night's sleep. I come with all my court cases. I have a whole pile, like seven cases, 7 summonses. I come to the guy. I walk in. And first of all, he greets me with a smile like I'm his long-lost brother. Satmar Chossid. Why are you? Yossi, come in, sit down, make yourself comfortable. What's the issue? And I show him, and he just scans through quickly. He says, no problem. I will prepare for you all the legal documents that you need. I will tell you where to go and who to call. You will have to go to court once, twice, 3 times, 5 times, whatever it'll take, and watch these cases disappear. Oh, and this bank that was taking your money, they will refund you the entire amount.
Wow.
I started laughing. I mean, like a sour laugh. He says, you're going to laugh when the money's in your bank. Now you're going to do what I tell you. Anyway, he prepared for me a stack of legal documents, told me what to do, gave me full instructions. I went to the courts. He has a few lawyers working for him, and they would go to court for me. He went once, twice, 3 times. One case is down, the other case is down. As he said, the last one we had to go about 3 times until the court ordered that they have to refund the money. They refunded the money in exact time for the first wedding. That was a good savings, a forced savings account to pay for the wedding.
Wow.
Okay, everything is covered. But there's another wedding a few weeks later. And the money is used. That's it. What do you do next? So God is great. That same property that I've been talking to you about and mentioning earlier, the neighbor had a fire. He caused some damage to my garage, made an insurance claim, and that paid for the second wedding. So both weddings are covered. Very nice. Wonderful. Less than a year later, another child has to get married. But now the 20 months are up. We're going to go back to the Gmach. We're going to take loans again. And then I stopped and I said, wait a minute. Last year, God paid for 2 weddings. You think he can't pay for another one this year? No, I'm not going back for loans. I took the same approach. I'm not worrying about money. Off the list. But time is moving on. The wedding is coming up. I don't have any money. I once heard from my father-in-law who said that the Friedrich Rebbe once said that a fool is a father who doesn't buy new clothes for himself for his child's wedding. So I'm thinking, how am I going to get, I don't have money for the wedding. Now I'm going to think about new clothes. But then I remembered I have a brand new capote hanging in my closet, which been hanging for years. I never touched it. What was the story? Many years earlier, there were a few guys who used to come from Canada. They used to sell capotes hanging on racks in front of 770, like a bizarre bazaar. In front of 770, they were selling capotes of racks. Once they announced a sale, $100 a silk capote. $100 silk capote. When I got married, we paid $500-600 for a silk capote. This is years later, and they're selling $100 a silk capote. I gotta get one. I go over to the racks, and I'm starting to look for a capote. There's only one problem. Not that I'm tiny now, but then I was like this. And nobody makes jumbo-sized capotes to hang on racks. So I'm trying to find the largest size capote, and the largest size capote can barely make it this way. I said, no. This is too cheap for me to pass. I am buying this capote, and maybe by some miracle, I'll lose weight. Who knows? I had a lot of faith. I took the capote, I put it in my closet, and it's been hanging there for at least 10, 12 years. And at that period, I started losing weight. Thinking, hey, maybe this capote is going to fit now. I bought the biggest that was available then, so maybe this time it's going to work. I'll have at least a new capote. I'm going to my closet. I'm pulling the capote off the hanger, and I want to put it on. A silk capote is very light. Very light, very lightweight. This capote is a little too heavy. I swing it around, I put it on. No, it's not just heavy, it's bulky. I stick my hands in. What's this? Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. I'm counting. I said, where is this? What is this? I called my wife. She was at work. I said, were you stashing away some money in the capote? No. Where is it from? I have no idea. The only thing I can think of is when I made that investment that took me down, there were periods that I had cash. And it could be that once I put it away for Shabbos or whatever it may be, and I forgot about it. Which is like so implausible. I'm not that rich to forget about thousands of dollars. But there's no other explanation, and that's probably what happened. So I count up the money, and that paid for the next wedding. Okay, you can't make it up. This is not Igris Kodesh. This is not video. This is just God. Wherever they find their way. Whatever it takes, they will make it happen. If you are in touch with the Rebbe, it's a two-way street. It's as straightforward as that. We cannot ignore and we cannot pretend. There are no limits. The Rebbe wants to hear from us, and he makes himself available. He listens to us, but it's up to us. If we open up, he will come in. If we're not going to open up, there's no open channel. The Rebbe can still, in spite of you closing the door, he can find a way to get in also. I'm not going to deny that Rebbe can do the impossible. There's no limits. But there's nothing like having open channels. You're open with the Rebbe will be open. with you, and you can expect it, and it's going to happen. This is our connection with the Rebbe. This is why we go to the Ohel. The Rebbe said we should go to the Ohel. Asker al Atzion. Everything you wrote to the Rebbe said, Asker al Atzion, Asker al Atzion, Asker al Atzion. People sometimes would complain, we want an answer. The Rebbe said, I gave you the best answer. The best answer is Asker al Atzion, to mention it by the Ohel. That's where everything, that's the gates of heaven. Now it's a situation where we are able and capable to go to the Tzion and connect. And the Rebbe responds.
Thank you so much.
Right here, I saw like between the street and the walkway, like the picture that on the floor. I just saw it, yeah, remember to get like, yeah, so on the floor. And I needed like, just like, oh, wow.
Oh, wow, it's late.
Thank you so much, Rabbi
Thank you.
Katzman.
Thank you.
We usually take a selfie with our speaker. Are you okay with that? You don't have to move. You can stay here. I just turn around and take a picture. Is that okay?
I'm on television, so
So you're all right.
um,
You guys want to come to that side?
pictures are part of
Okay.
my existence. Do I have to turn around?
Yeah, if you want to turn around. Is everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay, thank you so much. That was so powerful. Wow.